とあれだ、トゥリを助けたらあいつがなんか盗んじゃったんだな。とりあえずやっといてもらおうか。いっぱいある。
Poor Virgil. Poor Rufius too. All right, let me. What? I'll go, but once I'm.
で、私はあそこに行こう。あ、これ、あれか。ガレリウスが自殺を止めてからじゃないとダメか。どうしよう、少し待った方がいいのかな、これ。あれ？あ、いなくなってる。オベリスクってこれ？これに？ああ、ここに入れんの？これで、お？なんだ？あ、いた。神の名を口にして。どれ？ちょっと待って。その辺のくだり忘れちゃったな。オシリスが一番古いやつだっけ？あ、違うの？あ、プルートでいいのか。もうこれラストっぽいな。その前はハデスじゃなかった？建築様式が変わってんのか。これエジプトの建築様式だ。その前はオシリスか。で、最後が、これか。え宇宙にいんの？宇宙船の中？なんかいっぱいいるぞ。
And here you are. Allow me to introduce myself. As you have already gathered, I've been known by many names. Nergal to the Sumerians, Osiris to the Egyptians, Hades to the Greeks, and Pluto to the Romans. But the one constant through it all has been my title, God of the Underworld. And I've been watching you with curiosity, mortal, ever since your arrival. You're unlike the others, aren't you? And what is more, you carry a weapon that was never intended for mortals to wield, and you do it so brazenly. But there will be time for your reckoning later. First, as a reward for undoing the desecration of my obelisk, I will allow you to satisfy your curiosity. Ask what you will. My story is many thousands of years long. You will need to be more specific. What do you wish to know? That is my servant. You would have met by the river.
Oh,
She wears many
これが
faces
カロンか。
and goes by many names. Kumutubal to the Sumerians, Kirti to the Egyptians, Charon to the Greeks, and Charon to the Romans. Her role is to ferry souls between the mortal world and this one, and to make their transition as seamless as possible. For that, she earned herself the infamous, if erroneous, moniker, the Ferryman. You will talk more later. For now, ask your questions. This is my beloved.
Oh.
Like me, she has been known by many names. Ereshkigal to the Sumerians, Isis to the Egyptians,
こい
Persephone
つ
to
が
the
多分
Greeks,
呼びかけて
and
た人だよ
Persephone to
な。
the Romans. Or perhaps you might know her as the goddess of springtime, the cycle of life and renewal. Your gaze lingers too long. My kin and I all adopted this form long ago, so that we might better understand and communicate with your kind. In time, we grew fond of the sensory delights it affords: desire, joy, ecstasy, even rage and sorrow, while an acquired taste can be addictive.
見せてほしいな。
No. Long ago, I
キラキラ
that I would
Alright,
remain in this
Chi-chan.
form for as long as we remained among your kind. I must honor that.
めちゃくちゃ超展開になってきたんだけど。
It is a matter of perspective. God is a label I was given by you mortals, not one I gave myself. Your ancestors revered me because to them, my knowledge and technology made me incomprehensibly powerful, just as you might seem so to an insect. But despite all that,
ぼっちで遊んでたのしょう
must obey.
どっちだったんすか。
As you wish.
ここは何なの？
It has come to be known simply as the Underworld, and it exists because of a wager I made long ago. That is a long story, one that began
休みでぼっちキラキラ
あ、休みだったんだ。
to this day. You see, long ago my kin and I set out from our home on Elysium to search for other forms of life among the stars. We discovered your planet and witnessed your kind evolving from primates into something lawless and barbaric. You all but destroyed yourselves. Your too short lives
なんか神とされてた人は実は宇宙人で、
and disease.
今までローマだと思ってた場所は宇宙船の中だったっていう展開。
Persuaded the rest of us it would be squandered without our intervention and stewardship. So we revealed ourselves to your people in a place called Suno. We offered guidance in agriculture, toolcraft, and law, and you called us gods. For a time you flourished, but soon you were too many for us to oversee. And as you spread from that cradle of civilization, we saw something disturbing. We had sown the seeds of dependency and confusion, and soon you returned to your old ways of violence and ignorance, this time in our name. My kin had seen enough, and gave up on your kind, condemning you as barbaric and chaotic, scarcely more than animals. We began preparations to return to Elysium, our home world, a utopia unspoilt by conflict and unimaginable in its beauty. But my Proserpina could not bear to abandon your kind without guidance, and knowing it would force the rest of us to leave her behind, she made an extraordinary sacrifice. She gave up her immortality to descend permanently to the ranks of humankind. And so she began her inescapable trajectory toward death. Horrified, I acted swiftly. I placed her in suspended animation,
それで動
in
け
a
なくな
deep
ってんのか。
frozen sleep, to prevent age and sickness from claiming her. And then I pleaded with Proserpina's father, who the Romans called Jupiter, to bring her with us to Elysium. It was and is my hope that once there, we might one day learn to undo what she has done to herself. But he refused. I did everything I could to persuade him, but he would not relent. He would rigidly uphold his final pronouncement. Humans were unworthy of ascension to Elysium, and no exceptions would be made. But seeing that I was aggrieved, he proposed a wager, the terms of which were as follows. If even one human city could prove itself capable of living without sin for a single year, then Proserpina and all of humanity would be permitted to join us in Elysium. My part would be to remain behind, the last of my kind, to watch over you without interfering, and to sit in silent judgment. And so my reward has been to languish here, enduring a 3,000-year winter, waiting for the day your kind proves itself worthy of her faith in you, so that I might take her with me to Elysium and unthaw my goddess of springtime. And here I am, after all this time, still waiting.
なるほど。
There were also gods who, like me, have been known by many names, but perhaps you knew them by their Roman names. Our leader, Jupiter, as well as Neptune, Saturn, Juno, Minerva, Mars, Venus, Apollo, Diana, Vulcan, Vesta, Ceres, and of course, my beloved Proserpina. As the first wave of your kind arrived from Sumer, I had them build a city in their own fashion, so that they might be comfortable and recreate their lives here. I had them build the entrance as a vertical shaft leading to baths, to cleanse them of the sins of their former lives, and to prevent escape. I watched wave after wave of Sumerians arrive, and as their civilization declined over the centuries, they were replaced by Egyptians. Of course, believing themselves to be the superior civilization, the Egyptians promptly built over what had been built before, and made all the same mistakes. After another 1,000 years, the Greeks began to arrive. They built upon the underworlds of their predecessors, renamed their gods, and ensured their To ensure the wager was fair, it was important that my subjects were chosen at random. To this end, I had my servant distribute 1,000 tokens fashioned from silver, a rare element at the time, across all of Sumer. Whoever died while in possession of one of them would be located by my servant and ferried to this place, with no memory of how they arrived. As the tokens were discovered, they were traded, smelted, and fashioned into trinkets, and eventually coins, spreading to Egypt like seeds on the wind. Later, when they spread to Greece, they would come to be known as Charon's Obol. Some placed coins in the mouths of their dead, hoping they would awaken here, though they had no way of knowing which coins were fashioned from the... In fact, almost all of the tokens are accounted for. Only 2 remain. And so after this wave destroys itself, as it is destined to do, your kind will have squandered the last of its potential to ascend beyond this rock, and Proserpina's along with it.
行方不明の2枚のコインってなんだ？
It is a regrettable story. One of the first men who came to this place was a king of Sumer and a troublemaker. To be rid of him, I returned him to his people on the condition that my servant erased his memories of this place. But the erasure did not take completely. He told stories of this. His tales were committed to writing, which came to be known as the Epic of Gilgamesh. Later, the Egyptians would adapt Sumer's stories of the underworld. Their Book of the Dead and Book of Gates bore less and less resemblance to this place. And then, when the Greeks began to arrive, they proved far more cunning. And in a series of incidents that will not be repeated, 5 of them escaped. A warrior named Heracles, 2 kings named Sisyphus and Theseus, a poet named Orpheus, and a Trojan named Aeneas. They each told embellished tales of this place, how to get here, and so from Sumer to Egypt, Greece to Rome, your kind has always told each other stories about... Of course. That is merely the name your people have given to it, but yes. That is a story dating back to the very first wave. After the Sumerians finished building theirs, now this man was unmarried, and many women were vying to become his wife. Prestigious position of power and influence in a new world. Of all the women, 2 were particularly ambitious. Both were beautiful, and both arrived at the bank, their hair woven in elaborate fashion. The first woman, recognizing that she would require an advantage to win the ruler's affection, draped herself in jewelry, ornate necklaces, bracelets, and rings fashioned from gold. Seeing this ostentatious display, the second woman grew envious, for she had no such jewelry at her disposal. She prayed aloud to any gods that would listen to cover her in gold. And when her prayer went unanswered, she took matters into her own hands. While the others indulged at the banquet, the second woman summoned the first for a discussion in a quiet place. She checked that nobody was watching, and pushed her rival from the top of the ziggurat, where she broke her neck on the rocks below. But I was watching, and I decided to answer her prayer. I took the golden bow left behind by Diana, and I shot that woman in the heart, covering her from head to toe in a layer of molten gold. And I left her to stand there, that she might serve as a grim reminder of what befalls those who sin. But that was not enough, for the entire city was tainted by her sin, and the wager could no longer be won. So I had no choice but to wipe the slate clean. I gilded them all, to make way for a new way, and to this day, each of them, and all who came after, line the halls of this city, suspended in time with only their sight and hearing preserved, so they may bear witness to and lament the folly of your kind. I give your kind a second chance at life, as well as ample warning about my law. And so you ask if I am the one destroying your lives, and I say you destroy yourselves. When my kin departed, they left behind many relics which I inherited. Consolation. The golden bow originally belonged to one of my kin, who the Romans called Diana. As my collection of golden statues grew, I chose the most ferocious among them, and equipped them each with a duplicate of her bow, and tasked them with hunting down the Forsaken at my behest. They became known simply as Furies.
あいつら振り合えっていうのか。
I've always considered that the cornerstone of morality is the ability to determine right from wrong on one's own. No attempt to lay out rules like your Code of Hammurabi or your 12 Tables of the Roman Republic can ever cover all possible scenarios. This should come as no surprise to you, since the core principle has been expressed in many forms by many of your civilizations. The Egyptians made a rudimentary attempt with do to the doer to make him do. The Greeks refined it with avoid doing what you would blame others for doing. The Roman Stoics added treat your inferior as you would wish your superior to treat you. Even the so-called cultists hiding among you often say, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." It is the simplest of concepts, and each one of you is born with the faculties required to apply it to any situation. Yet none of the peoples who expressed this rule were able to uphold it.
お
For you, perhaps. I'm able to commune with all of the statues in the city. Their ears are my ears, and their eyes are my eyes. If she was still conscious, I suppose she could, but she's not.
あ、やべやべ、それは
Why do you
言っちゃ
ask?
ダメ。
Then what an odd question. Do you plan to speak in sweeping generalizations, or are you going to give me an example?
うーん。どれ自殺は
I've seen no such thing, but in any case, taking one's own life is a self-directed act. It is not one that is done. Therefore, it cannot be said that one who commits suicide has done anything unto others.
難しいな。
Applying this rule always requires us to interpret the meaning of the words. A literal interpretation helps to minimize the ambiguities of your primitive life.
すごい哲学的なんだよな、言ってることが。
Supposing you're right, and my law has been broken, and I should turn you all to gold immediately. Is that what
い
you
や
want?
ー、違う、そういうことじゃなくて、
Then your desire to be right outweighs your desire to survive. You will make a fine
あ
statue.
れあ、あ、
Do you really think you can wound me, a god, with that primitive weapon?
棺を壊して私の冠を取って。
How dare you threaten her? This ends now. The many shall suffer for the sins of the one.
取ったよ。取ったけど帰んのこれ。うわ、いっぱいいる。フルートに見せる。はあ。あ、やべやべやべ。これ帰れるか。よけろよけろよけろ。あ、やべやべやべ。死ぬ死ぬ死ぬ死ぬ。あー、ロードが。あ、ダメだ。むずっ。やり直しか。これどれだっけ。ちょっと待って。字幕のサイズが。もう話すっ飛ばして、ここだ。あ、ダメか。
Here you are. Allow me to introduce. No, but the and what?
しかも字幕のサイズが適用されてない。特に聞きたいことはない。
Then only it has long been within my power to see into the hearts of mortals and weigh their deeds in life. But when I peer into you, I see only a blank slate, as if you did not exist until you appeared in this. Charon, where did you find this one?
I do not remember ferrying
Eh?
you. How did you come here?
You would have us believe that my servant merely forgot bringing you here.
If that is true, then I sense the intervention of someone powerful.
How did you come to be in this time, mortal? Who brought you here?
He cannot know.
Impossible! No mortals possess such power.
カロンが連れてきたんじゃないのか。
I do not believe you. But we shall see just how powerful you are in time. Enough of this. It seems I will need to put your reckoning on hold for now. Why have you come here? What is it you seek?
ほら。
Do you really think you can... Pathetic. The many shall suffer for the sins of the one.
これ取って逃げる。こいつは避けんのかい。ああ、食らった。逃げて逃げて逃げて。ああ、痛い。もう死ぬ。ドア早く開いて。あ、うわ、食らった。これむずっ。逃げられん。先にこの石像を倒しておけないのかな。
And here you are. Allow... And I... And what... That they will... Fur. That is merely the name. I've always... No, this should... The Egyptian, the Greek, the Roman, even the... It is yet none.
これ説得する方法あんのかな。
Enough. You clearly know. Do you plan to speak in sweeping generalizations? Abduction? You mean the magistrate? He did so because she sought to escape. Better that he stops her from escaping, albeit brutish. Supposing you're right. Now tell me, what others...
これ言いくるめることできんのか。
The midwife and the palace, yes. How is that in... The rule is do unto others, meaning other people. Those statues are something else now. They are forsaken. What happens to... Applying this rule always... Then your desire to be right, you will make a fine...
ダメだ。
Pathetic. The many shall suffer for the sins of the one. You will suffer each other.
これを避けて。 あー、食らう。これ本当にいけんの？あー、痛い、もうダメだこれ。ドア開いてー。ドア開いた。これ乗る。ここに一人いるから、これを避けて、あ、こっちじゃない。間違えた。やべ。あ、あのジップライン乗りたかったんだ。道間違えた。最悪だ。あ、俺積んだ？こっちから行けるか？あ、いけるいけるいけるいける。いけるぞ、これ。いけたいけたいけた。あぶねえ。これでもう一回あそこに行こうかな。
Salve, friend. Mind telling me who you are and why you look like you've just taken on a gladiator and lost? Oh, sounds serious. Yulia.
これもう意味ないのか
All
な。
right, I'll go.
これでもう一回戻ればいいのか。どれだっけ？歯ですか。オシリス。
And here you are. Allow me to introduce Nurgle, but the one, and I've been
これ
and
で
what is
何
more,
か
that
が
there will be first, as a reward for
変わるはず。
I would recognize that anywhere. And yet my beloved still wears hers. What is this? How did you come by it? You fine, despicable creature. Why would you do such a thing? And worse still, boast about it.
え、これでどうなんの？
You have put me in an impossible position. If I refuse, you will murder her. And yet, if I agree, I will lose my wager and return to Elysium humiliated and alone. I do not see that I have a choice in this. Your treachery and savagery have opened my eyes like nothing I have witnessed in 3,000 years. And now you have shown me your species' true colors. And I see that Persephone was a fool to have ever believed in you at all. This has gone on too long. It is time for me to let go of this form, of her, of all of you. But know this. If I abandon the wager and leave for Elysium, neither she nor your kind may ever ascend.
エリシオンに来るルートもあんのかな。
Because despicable creatures like you have no place there. My kin would never allow it. The best I can do is return you to the land of the living. I will have Charon make arrangements to ferry the others. But as for you, be aware you will be separated from the rest. Once this exodus begins, the events that brought you to this moment will never have taken place, and you will have created a paradox. What will become of you is difficult to predict, but that is the risk you have taken by interfering in the natural flow of time. Now, are you ready?
おー、どうなるん
You
だ。
had best pray our paths never cross again, mortal.
これでクリアかな。あ、あるら。ん？ここどこ？
Oh. Hi there. Gave me a bit of a fright. Thought I was in here alone. I'm Al. Well, here I am. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Oh, did that lady in the forest send you in here after me? I guess I lost track of time, learning about the history of this place, and it is extraordinary. I'm fairly certain you and I are the first people to set foot in this city for about 2,000 years. Fortunately for us, the last person in here was a Roman man named Galerius, who inscribed an account into a tablet. Apparently, there was a community of 20-something people trapped in here, and living in fear of a curse they called the Golden Rule. They believed that if even one person sinned, an unknown god would cast them all into gold, like the 1,000 people who'd lived here before them. Then, one day, just as
何言ってるかわからない。
at the shrine of Proserpina,
そうだよ
an
ね。
oracle appeared and told him how to solve the ills of the city, like saving the life of a dying woman, foiling an assassination attempt, and so on. Meanwhile, the oracle walked up to the temple of the mysterious god, this one right here, and demanded an audience. And the doors just opened up to him. Nobody knows what went on in there, but Galerius wrote the oracle must have been more persuasive than Odysseus, because the next thing he knew, the ground shook, and the voice of that god rang out over the city. The many have suffered long enough. Unfortunately, Galerius' account just sort of stops after that, leaving a lot of questions unanswered. What became of him, and the other people who lived here? What happened to all the golden statues? And did this mysterious oracle single-handedly undo the curse that had terrorized people for hundreds of years?
それは私のことだ。
What? Oh, I see. For a moment there I thought you were serious. Anyway, I think I found a way out through the aqueduct that brought water into the city. Follow me.
これがトゥルーエンドなのかな。
I'm gonna pause here for a moment and make sure nobody... You go on ahead.
じゃあこの沼達を過去に呼んだあのカロンは誰なんだ。あれはプロセルピナだったのかな。お前は誰だ。
You're back! But you're alone.
Does that mean you didn't find Al? Oh, what a relief. Thank you so much. I was beginning to think you'd both become trapped in there. Why don't you tell me what you discovered while we wait?
Ah, I see.
Eh?
I thought you might. Well, now
Quick,
you
quick, quick.
know. I suppose you have questions. You can just call me Charon, if you like. I am sorry I was not completely honest with you when we first met. I do not enjoy deceiving people. Believe me, I do not. But I have learned, from 5,000 years of experience, that most people find comfort in familiarity, in gradual change, and coming to see the truth in their own time. That you died, of course.
あ、やっぱ死んでる
You were
の
dead when I brought you here. My role, as the servant of the god of the underworld, has always been to assist the chosen to cross the threshold from the land of the living to the land of the dead. Usually, when people do not remember how they died, it is because they suffered a terrible trauma. Most souls would rather not remember. Ask yourself honestly, do you really want to know?
まあ知りたいかな。
As you wish. You were murdered.
誰に
You were exploring an old tomb when you discovered a cache of forgotten relics,
ああ、
including
銀貨
two
そこで
silver
拾っ
coins
た
of
ん
ancient
か。
origin. Unfortunately, as you emerged into daylight, you were set upon by two thieves. A nearby hiker saw the scuffle break out and leapt to your aid, trying to help you recover your
あ、
bounty.
それがあるか。
You both fought bravely, but your assailants were armed, and you were not. There was nothing you or your ally could have done. He died instantly at the scene, and you followed a few hours later. That man's name was Al Wur.
あ
You were each in possession of a sacred coin, called Charon's Opal by some, and so it was my duty to bring you here. Perhaps you have heard the tales of the Greeks and Romans burying their dead with a coin in their mouths to pay the ferryman for passage across. Well, those stories contained a seed of truth, but not any coin would. A long time ago, my master created 1,000 silver coins
あ、そん
and
なこ
had
と言
me
ってたな。
distribute. My orders were simple. Whenever a person died in possession, that is a question you would have to ask him, if that were still possible, in light of the path you have chosen. I am just his servant, doing his bidding. Only now, I find myself bereft of purpose. You see, the coins on you and Al. There is nobody else to ferry here. Nobody to keep you company. After 5,000 years, the underworld has finally run its course. I see no point in keeping you here. But I have to ask one thing.
え、あ、戻してくれんの
That you keep this to yourself.
Look! Here comes Al now. Al! It's so good to see you. You were gone so long I thought I'd never see you again.
Kinda lost track of time in there. You wouldn't believe what we found. The ruin, and there was a tablet describing an oracle who confronted a god and undid an ancient curse.
Sounds like quite a story. And I look forward to hearing all about it. But you two look exhausted. Why don't you hop in my boat and rest while I ferry you back to civilization?
Sounds good to me.
And you? Are you ready to go home?
1年後。博物館だ。
Hey, you made it. It's great to see you again.
いや、1年で老けすぎじゃね
And what the critics said about it. I guess they weren't ready for your theories about the underworld. Anyway, after everything you've been through, I thought you might appreciate some good news. So after we got back to the real world, I started doing some research into the people mentioned in Galerius' tablet. And I found something strange. I'm sorry I've been so cryptic. I've been dying to tell you. I just really wanted you to see this for yourself. Why don't you head on down there? I'll catch up with you at the other end.
なんだえなんで
Oh, hello. There he is.
どういうこと
You're finally here. Remember me? It's a crazy story. After you disappeared, Karen appeared and told us she was returning us to the world. Even gave us some coins to help us start our lives over. Only, for some reason, she returned us
あ、
to
こ
your
っちの
world
世
instead
界に
of
来ちゃっ
ours.
たの
Anyway, I know we only ever had that one conversation, and I wasn't even sure if you'd remember me, but I wanted to say thanks for freeing us from the underworld and giving us a second chance at life. Oh, I used Karen's gift to buy a farm in Umbria. Got a villa on it too, with enough room for Dooley, of course.
あ、ドゥリーも
It's
一
hard
緒なん
work,
だ
but I sleep soundly every night. I'm finally my own man, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I know. I can't believe my luck either. But we're engaged and
よかった、よかった。
living together. We're planning to get married next spring. If you're going to be around, we'd love to see you there.
もちろん行くよ
Of course, there's a whole museum full of people waiting for a chance to thank you. So you better keep
あ、み
moving.
んなこっちの世界に来ちゃったのね
You're here. It's lovely to finally meet you. Galerius told me all about you. So, you're the
そう
hero
か
who
あのループでは会
somehow
ってない
vanquished
こ
the
とになっ
last of
て
the
んの
Roman
か
gods. As I'm a priestess, you realize you've put me out of work. I'm just teasing. Actually, and it still feels a little sacrilegious to say this, Galerius and I are engaged and
あらあ
expecting.
ら
We've just bought a lovely villa in the countryside, with room for a large family. It feels like the world has just opened up for us. There's so much to learn, and so many more. We're just so thankful for what you did for us. Oh, it's sweet of you to ask. She recovered nicely. In fact, she's here somewhere. If you'd like to ask her yourself.
あーリビアってあのおばあちゃんか
See you at the wedding, I hope.
あ
Hi there.
ーおー
You're the Oracle, right?
そっかみんな会ってない
Oh,
の
of
か
course. Sorry. And I never got a chance to thank you for telling Galerius how to save my life. And of course, getting me and all of us out of a terrible situation. Oh, I barely recognize myself. I'm living in a house share in London with my wonderful
ガール
girlfriend.
フレンド
And I'm studying English at university. Eventually, I want to travel the world and write about it. Turns out, it's about 30 times bigger than the Roman Empire ever was. Did you know there are
30
entire
倍
continents
どころじゃない
Rome
でしょ。
never knew existed? And you can travel almost anywhere in an aircraft, which is rather like flying on a Pegasus, but much more comfortable. Oh, sorry, you already know all that, of course. I'm just so excited. I really am. Last I heard, Malleolus kept insisting he was the last rightful ruler of the Roman Empire, and wound up being committed to a psychiatric hospital.
マレオラ
As
さ
for
ん
Claudia, she was always so viciously unhappy. Someone said she'd blown all her money on wine, trying to drink herself
ダ
back
メ
to the
夫婦じゃん
underworld. After the horrific way they treated Ulpius and me, I can't help feeling a sense of... what's that German word? Schadenfreude? I couldn't agree more. Ugh, someone told me she was boasting about getting her claws into some rich prince, and how she was going to be living the high life from now on, Even in your time, life still isn't fair.
アウレリアって誰
Apparently,
だっ
he'd
け？
proposed before they'd even met. And last I heard, she'd bought herself a first-class one-way ticket to join him in some exotic... Nigeria? Some people have all the luck. Well, you are the oracle.
あ、アウレリアってあいつか。宿屋の。
I feel better already.
すげえ意地悪なお姉さんか。
You too. If you're ever in London, let me know. We can go to bars and drink wine and listen to the... You're welcome.
You are here. It's nice to finally meet you. Lucy is fine. I'm making an effort to blend in, as you can see. We are all trying to keep a low profile. If the world knew we died 2,000 years ago and were suddenly brought back to life 12 months ago, they'd never leave us alone. Speaking of which, I wanted to say thank you in person. I'd say the gods smile on you, but I hear... I'm studying to get into medical school. As much as I resented the responsibility of keeping everyone in the city alive, when it ended, I realized I missed it. So I guess I'll just keep saving the world. You too. Don't be a stranger.
Hey. Evening. Hi there, I'm Horatius. I understand we have you to thank for giving us a second chance at life. And reuniting Centilla with us as well. So, thank you. I'm living up north and studying in the military academy in Modena. I'm going to be an officer one day. The world's changed a lot. But some things stay the same. Would you believe we're still studying military tactics from might? Still, I have to keep challenging myself to let go of old ways of thinking and the ones who pioneered our paths aren't our masters. Ah, you remembered that. Thank you. I grieved for a time. But that's done. In the words of Epictetus, as those who remind yourself your precious one isn't one of your possessions. Thanks. I'm living up north. He's not my... Oh, I see what you did there. He had more trouble adapting than most. He got himself disqualified from the UFC. He started some kind of underground blood sport tournament. Suppose it appealed to people's baser instincts. And they say he made some good coin, killing a bunch of men like that. But his luck finally ran out. And his life along with it. You're not wrong. And you.
I take it you're the Oracle. Thanks for coming. Actually, I changed my name to Cynthia. I didn't want to be associated with Sentius. I'm not sure if you heard, but after you drove Pluto off, Proserpina emerged from the Great Temple. She knew right away what none of us had figured out about that psychopath. He'd been keeping my little sister locked up in the upper system all that time. But he's been dealt with. You know what? The important thing is, we'll never see him. Anything I want. I'm a woman of means in a vast new world. I can go wherever, and of course, I mostly just stay in my villa and have my servant Alexa summon things for me. Because it's just awful out there. Barbarians everywhere. He's still there, all alone. The last golden statue in the underworld. Trapped in a metal shell, slowly losing his mind until the eternal torment. Just what he... Meh, I try not to think about him at all. You too.
こいつに会ってないな、一回も。
Hello.
あ、ジョルジウス。
Museum, is it not? Greetings. You must be the legendary oracle. I am told we have you to thank. I am reacquainting myself with Greece. It has changed so much over the last 2000. Perhaps one day, once I have seen all of this new Greece and sampled her delights, I hope you will join me there and regale me with the story of how you faced. You too, my friend.
You're the one we've been waiting for. I wanted to say thanks for sending Galerius to save my life.
どういたしまして。
I'm just so happy to be here with you and everyone together again. Well, it's not like I have to work with all the silver Charon gave me, so I just do what makes me happy. Thank you. You too.
Greetings.
ああ、これ地下にいたやつか。
I take it you're the oracle everybody's talking. We have. I never thought I'd leave that cave, let alone the city. And it seems I have your catabasis to... I'm working as a consultant to the Faculty of Classics at Cambridge University. Help, not that I need the money, but I do love being around it. My sincere thanks.
誰?
Some soiree, innit?
あ、できる。
Oh, hello at last. You must be the oracle I've heard so much about. Listen, I wanted to express my sincere appreciation for what you did. If it wasn't for you, I'd never been able to sell all those useless old red... Whatever you did in that temple made me a very wealthy man. Such acerbic wit. I took the money I made from selling my trinkets and started investing in the stock market. That's where the real... In fact, I was hoping to ask your advice. You being the oracle and future... I can't decide between fossil fuels, tobacco, gambling and arms. What would you... Oh, don't be like that. You can tell your old pal Dacius.
こいつは騙してきたからな。DVD これから来るんじゃない？
Oh, of course, yeah. I was just thinking the same thing. I'll go home and buy up as much stock as I can tonight. I'm gonna make a bloody fortune. Of course, don't let me keep you.
大損してしまえ。
Good evening.
Hello there.
オクタビア、あの人か。
Oh, hello. It's lovely to meet you. I've heard... I'm thankful that you're here. I was sure the person who drove off the last pagan god would have... But thank you for coming and... I'm living in Rome again, in a charming little flat by the Tiber. Not far from my old place. Oh, and I'm training to be a Christ. After you sent Galerius to persuade Ulpius not to take his own life, I was inspired. I just want to spend the rest of my life helping people, like you helped him.
素晴らしい。
Thank you. And you. Oh, and I hope this isn't too forward, but some of us are going out for a drink after this, if you'd like to join us. Wonderful. I'll see you soon.
Oh,
Greetings. Thank you for your kind words and for liberating us all. In all the time I'm recovering. Octavia was kind enough to let me Ah, you remember that. I'm a little tired of Ovid, but that's all right. I'm already up to the 19th century and am quite Men have called me mad, but the question is not yet settled. And you?
これなんかいない人もいるっぽいよな。全員には会ってないのかな。
It is an honor to finally meet you. You know my name? Oh, of course. I too would like to offer my thanks for releasing. For a time, I returned to Alexandria, but they have no need of another. Instead, I have decided to follow the custom of your youths, and I spent the first 25 years of my life avoiding the 42 sins that would deny me access to the... Thank you. Thank you, Oracle.
Hi.
Oh, Cynthia.
Hello there. Oh, I go by Gabriella now. I didn't want to be reminded of that monster every time I heard my own name. After you drove Pluto off, Proserpina came and released me, and that monster got what was coming to him. Don't worry, nobody did. I'm living with Ulpius on a little vineyard in Umbria. It's even more wonderful than I dreamed it would be. I'm so grateful to you for making sure he's still with us. If you're ever passing through the you can try some of our very own wine. Thanks. You too.
It's nice to finally put a face to the name. I'm Ulpius. I understand I have you to thank for sending Galerius. The way you just showed up out of the blue and stopped me from making a terrible... I'm living with Gabriella in Umbria. We finally bought the little vineyard we always dreamed of. It'll be... Every day I look at her and this extra... So we're living each day to the fullest. And we end them all the same, sitting together on our terrace with a glass of our wine, which the locals say is almost drinkable now. And I... Thank you. You too.
あれまさか君たち
Nice to meet you. I go by Rufus now. New start, new name. Oh, and thanks, by the way, for telling Galerius how to treat my rheumatism. I probably would have lost my mind if it wasn't for that willow bark. Although, I think your people have a different name for it. Aspirin, I believe. Sorry, I'm no good. I live with Virgil in Rotterdam, not far from where he grew up. It's very modern. Destroyed in the war, and it rebuilt itself. Haven't decided what I'm going... Huh. Good to know. Anyway, it was good practice for the new world. Security cameras. You too. Look us up next time you...
It's so nice to finally meet you. I wanted to thank you personally for helping Rufus come to terms with himself. I'm studying to be an architect again, and living with Rufus in our beautiful flat in Rotterdam. Of course, it's improved immensely since I was there last. Gleaming futuristic. You natives of the 21st century have no idea. You too, as Rufus said in his own laconic way. If you're ever in the Netherlands, we'd love to show you our...
Evening.
これで全員か。多分足りない人もいるんだろうな。この辺全部あの世界にあったものか。
There you are. I hope you enjoyed that. Now, there's one more person I wanted to introduce you to. I think you know her.
Eh?
Sorry if I frightened you. Just a little joke I've been saving for a long, long time.
Oh.
Allow me to introduce myself properly. I am Proserpina, former goddess of the cycle of life and renewal, and now a regular mortal. I wanted to meet you in person, and thank you for freeing all these people. And me. I hate to think what would have happened to us without your intervention. Indeed. Suffice it to say that while Pluto was controlling the eyes and ears of each golden statue, I was able to control their tongues, and whisper to you when he was distracted. I am sorry my messages were so cryptic. There were only ever brief windows in which I could speak to you without being detected. I did. I may have given up my immortality, but I still retain my gifts as the goddess of the cycle of life and renewal. After witnessing Pluto punish countless poor souls over thousands of years, I knew this generation, the final wave, would not survive. So I tried to give them a way to buy more time. A second chance. Rather, as many second chances as they needed to avoid his wrath. I don't know what happened to him. I haven't heard from him, and I rather hope it stays that way. Oh, she inherited dominion over the underworld. Last time we spoke, she was working on a new world of some kind. She wouldn't say what it was, but I'd be surprised if you don't run into her again. I imagine we all will, one day. And you, although it feels like I've known you forever. Oh, and one last thing. Do you remember all those golden statues scattered throughout the city?
みんなまさか戻ったの?
Good, because they remember you. Well done,
ああ、
my friend.
なるほど。
Of all the heroes who ever journeyed to the underworld and returned, none came close to achieving what you did. Hercules, Orpheus, Theseus, and Aeneas would be proud.
あ、やっぱこれがトゥルーエンドだ。3のエンディングすっ飛ばしたな、じゃあ。何だったんだろう。終わったエンドロールにね、スタッフの顔写真出てくるの新しいな。なんだこれ。レビューを書いたりしてください。まあ、そのうちな。終わった。最後ちょっと超展開だったけど、でも面白かったな。これのエンディングはそのうち回収しようかな。面白かった。